I took a picture of the base and put it on Instagram a few weeks ago saying, if anyone sees this, let me know. I'm trying to find it. Right. So he's got one of those. He's got a couple of Topps Finest refractors. The
Nice.
93 one is on the Giants, not the Cardinals.
Right. And I don't think he's, is he in the Finest set?
He is not.
I don't
94.
think so, yeah.
94 he is in the 94 set.
Yeah.
He's in the 94
Too
set.
good. You ready to talk a little? So they win the World Series in 82.
Yes.
83, 84. Heading into 85, I did some homework.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that St. Louis heading into 1985 was predicted to finish in last place?
Yes, things had not been going well after 82, right? They trade Keith Hernandez for Neil Allen and Rick Owenby to the Mets. I mean, he was, part of the trials and everything, right?
Yeah.
And so they had to move him. Whitey didn't want him around.
Nope.
They moved him. And what little bit of power they had anyway was him.
Right.
They hit a ridiculously low number of home runs in 82 when they won the series. It was in the 70s for the season. They averaged less than one homer every 2 games.
Wow.
Now they had nothing. Bruce Sutter, their closer, started to fall apart. Right. He left, not long after that, but he wasn't doing well. And with his arm was having problems, as it always did.
Yeah.
That fork ball, whatever, the cutter, whatever.
Yeah.
Fork.
Splitter. It was a splitter.
Splitter. Thank you. Right. So they weren't doing well. They didn't have pitching, and they were wondering, is this going to work? Was 82 a fluke? And then, going in, Joaquin Andujar was hit and miss. They didn't have any starting pitching, really.
Yeah.
Danny Cox, maybe Ken Daly was coming up, I think, at that point. Lonnie Smith was another good player who had to go because of the trials. He was out. He's gone at that point. So, yeah, you're right. Not much was thought of them at that point.
They head into spring training. Like you said, they slough off Hernandez earlier. Mm-hmm. There was the drug thing. There was the Whitey thing. Hernandez was pissed about it. One of the great sports documentaries, I think, in the last 5 years is the multi-part 30 for 30 Once Upon a Time in Queens about the 86 Mets. Did you watch that?
No, I've heard about it, though.
I thought it was an A+ because I just remember every detail, and it was super, super fun. And it was everything you said, but Hernandez did not want to leave St. Louis.
No.
But what's done is done. Sutter leaves. The Cards end up trading Lonnie Smith in May of 85. He starts the year with them. Remember who he gets traded to?
It's Kansas City, isn't it?
Yeah, and then what happens?
He comes back to haunt them. He plays okay. He has a moment in the 85 series.
Yeah, he plays against him in the World Series. He's the only player ever to be traded and play against his former team in the World Series.
Wow.
Yeah, in that same season. Amazing. You haven't mentioned a big pitcher for them who kind of had his career year in 85.
Well, that's good. Right. Well,
we're getting right. Get me there. I'm following you.
Right.
Take me, Dave.
John Tudor's 1985 Topps traded card. Right.
Oh, his traded card. Nice. It comes over from Boston, Pittsburgh. That's right. Pittsburgh. Right.
It's card number 124T. This is the Tiffany. Actually, there's no dots down there. So this is a Tiffany card, which upped it from about $1 to $3 for me to pick this up on Tom's D.
Live it up. It's not yellowed.
Not yellowed at all. It's got this. It really captures that sideways, that sort of almost like a 10 o'clock lefty motion that he had there.
Yeah.
And he was always pretty good, but just couldn't stay healthy with the Red Sox. Like he clearly had something. He reminded me of, I think a modern day comp would be Chris Sale. He doesn't throw as hard, but he throws from the same angle with just so much movement.
Yep.
But just like Chris Sale, he couldn't stay healthy. And in 85, especially. About the last 2/3 of 85, boy, does he catch fire.
Yeah.
Right. And, he starts pushing Gooden, right, for the Cy Young. And the Gooden was a national phenomenon, as you covered in that two-parter.
Man. So you are how old in 85?
In 85, I turn 11. Okay. The season starts and I'm in 5th grade. By the time the World Series comes around, I'm in 6th.
Oh, wow. So what portion of your life is St. Louis Cardinals at that point?
Can you say that again? Sorry.
So like how big is our sports and how big is baseball at that point in your life?
Right. It was friends, baseball, video games, and then maybe school. That's sort of how that works, right? But
Nice.
the Cardinals were great, and I mean, just we knew from the All-Star break that we were on to something special, right? When Tudor would pitch, you kept waiting. Okay, he's gonna at some point he's gonna fall off, and he doesn't. He never falls off. He just goes and he goes, and you know that every fifth day or fourth day that he pitches, you start thinking they're gonna win. They're gonna win no matter what. The question is the other team even gonna score? Because his ERA is below 2.
Yep.
At that point, and then you've got as your second pitcher, rejuvenated Joaquin Andujar. Sober.
He's actually he's sober in 85. I know my Joaquin Andujar history.
Right. He's sober. You've got this young closer named Todd Worrell.
Oh yeah,
who's taken the ball and is closing games. He doesn't have the role to himself quite yet, right? You got Danny Cox, who's a great third starter, and they were rolling. And then you have another young guy coming up, and Vince Coleman.
Oh,
right, and he's taken. We're going to talk about the tarp in a minute, right? But but Vince Coleman is the Cardinals could run, and this was really Whitey ball, at its peak. And for those listening who don't understand, Whitey ball is after Whitey Herzog, the manager, in which it was make contact, hit line drives, put the ball in play, home runs be damned, and just run, and make the catcher of the other team cry. Well, that's the goal of it. And there were times I can remember the catchers of the other team, even a great catcher like Tony Pena from the Pirates, where he would just look back at the dugout and just be like, "What am I doing here?" Right? Because the Cardinals would just run.
Yeah.
And you had Ozzie, Tommy, Willie McGee, Vince Coleman, another rookie, Terry Pendleton. The team was so young. That farm system was just cranking them out that year. Terry Pendleton comes up, and then some other players, and they're just Tito Landrum, who would occasionally would start, and Landrum won a World Series with the Cardinals in '82, with the Orioles in '83. And then made his way back to the Cardinals eventually. Comes back, and he's a Cardinal folk hero, right? People loved him.
Tito
Landrum. And so they just ran like crazy and hit about 90 home runs. I'm waiting to get to your guy about who they had. And they finally get some power. And they finally get some power in Jack the Ripper, in Jack Clark. The ornery, swing from the depths of hell.
Oh, he took a big swing. Yeah.
He was Reggie Jackson and Gary Sheffield, right? Those three, right? They would swing. You don't know how they were able to play more than 1 year with the way those three would swing.
Yeah, from the heels.
And he would just launch them. And his big year was 87, but in 85 he was still hitting bombs, right?
That's right.
And you could finally have a bit of a threat where you could hit one deep if you needed to.
Well, he leads them with 22 in 85, and I think what did they hit? 87.
I think it was just a few more than that. Just a few more.
Okay.
Right around there, 87 to 93. I don't know why I have that number in my head.
Yeah. I think it's very few because I think he hits a quarter of them. So let's talk about this style. Let's talk Whitey ball because it's the 1980s. Stolen bases are a huge part of the game.
Yes.
And people should steal judiciously. When you see some of these guys' percentages, like you probably ran out of a lot of innings playing that kind of style. But with
John Moses,
he led the league. So nice. You have.
By the way, here is Whitey Herzog, right?
Oh, there it is. Nice.
He died last week. As we're recording this, he died about a week and a half ago. In his early 90s, lived a good long life there, and baseball lifer. He would definitely just, if you didn't do things his way, he would trade you, right? Dal Maxwell was the general manager, but it was really he and Whitey were together.
Yep. They're predicted to go nowhere, but they get Tudor. So I was listening. I watched because I'm this kind of nerd. I watched the 1985 St. Louis Cardinals highlight film to get ready for this. It's called Heck of a Year.
Heck of a Year. Jack Buck.
That's right.
Yeah.
I will tell you that it ends with Jack Clark's home run in Game 6. That's the end of the film, and then And then Augie Busch comes on. Augie Busch Jr. comes on at the end and says something super endearing, and then it ends.
Yeah.
So they start out a little bit slow.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad, but like around 500, a couple games under. And like you said, as the weather heats up, they heat up. McGee is hurt a little bit at the start because Dow Maxwell's interviewed, and that gives Vince Coleman a window. So part of it is Lonnie Smith is coming out of the haze of the drug trials and all that, and part of it is Vince Coleman comes on, and it had to be McGee, and then it was definitely Van Slyke and Wright. What a great outfield!
Young, right?
Oh,
and then Van Slyke goes and becomes part with Bonilla and Bonds, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like you said, tons of young talent, tons of speed. Coleman steals 110.
He's 110, but there's a story about when McGee's coming back.
Yeah.
And so Maxwell's talking to him and he's saying, "Hey, Vince, just so you know, you're doing great. We love you. We're going to have a place here, but we're going to send you down." And Vince goes, "No, you're not."
This is in the video.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. I remember reading this. And he goes,
"Tell the story."
And he goes, "No." He's like, and he was not being disrespectful. He was being confident. He's like, "No, you're not, because you're not going to want to send me down. You're not going to send me down." And then sure enough, he never goes down. He doesn't have to. Yeah. And this is not 85. But this is Vince there, right?
Nice.
You got to know I'm going to show a card like this. I wouldn't have a card of him running, but instead I do. And it's of him as Detroit Tigers outfielder, Vince Coleman. My affinity for cards of players in not less familiar uniforms. I'm not a big fan of Vince. We'll talk about why when we get to the whole tarp thing. Bad memories.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But, here he is still trying to run. He's got a bit of a gut now, as we all do. But yeah, Vince was so fast. I was in attendance that year. I think it was May or June.
Okay.
Of his first ever home run. It was his first home run, and it was inside the park, as it should be.
Of course.
And he was racing. I remember that. He was racing around those bases, and there's no chance. He didn't slide. He didn't even slide.
Stand up inside the park at Busch. It's like bouncing around like a pinball machine.
It's a cavern. It's 414 to center.
Oh.
And I believe he hit it deep right, and it took a funny bounce.
Yeah, towards center or something.
Towards I think toward like the bullpen. I mean, it was gone. It was gone. And he's running, and as he's picking up speed, the crowd's picking up noise, and they're screaming. He comes racing through, and he pumped. He's jazzed, and they announced that is Vince Coleman's first career home run. They've seen that.
That's amazing. You saw it. That's so cool.
Cool, and that was great. And so he's young. Terry Pendleton is young. Todd Worrell is young, and they're just jackpot, everything that hits. And so, like you said, right in that video, Lonnie Smith becomes expendable.
Yeah,
he becomes the guy, and so it's Willie comes back healthy, ish, and then you've got Vince in left, Willie in center, and Van Slyke, another young player.
Yeah,
right. Mm-hmm.
He wins. So McGee wins MVP that year. Mm-hmm. Tudor finishes second in the Cy Young. 110 stolen bases for Coleman. 50 plus, I know, 51, something like that for McGee. And then Van Slyke and Ozzie both steal over 30. And then two other guys. And then Pendleton feels like 17. Hurst steals 30 also. Yeah. They have three guys with 30, one guy with 50, one guy at 110.
Right. And then Pendleton could swipe some bases as well.
Yeah, like 15 to 20 is where he was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they stole over 300 bases that season. Nobody has stolen over 200 bases since.
Right.
Think about that. And with the rule changes last year, which I like when they run, so I'm in favor. I'm usually kind of like want to be a purist, but I'm totally down with all these except for the automatic runner on second base. But I don't want to lose where we are. This team stole over 300 bases. No one has stolen over 200 since, including last season was 190 tops. No one at 300 bases.
It's crazy. Well, they had to generate runs however they could, right? Tommy Herr hit less than 10 homers and drove in 100 runs.
Yeah. Their highlight film is all like stolen bases and like base hit, guy scores from second.
Yeah. and all the highlight videos and all the music and sort of the song they ended up adopting that year based on a movie. It's just highlights are just them running.
Yeah.
Jack Clark home run. Run. Jack Clark home run. Right.
Yeah.
That's all. And maybe Van Slyke with a homer, and that would be it.
What, David? I'm going to put you on the spot here. I want to bring this picture up. This is an actual piece of the artificial turf from Busch. It just looks like green carpet. Yes. What was it like? What was it like to watch baseball on the turf?
So hot. It was so hot.
Yeah.
To watch baseball there, right? And ground balls would often slip through between short and third or up the middle because the ball would go so fast.
Yeah.
That was old Busch Stadium, not old Busch Stadium, but that was the last old Busch Stadium.
This Busch,
it was just like Three Rivers, and it was just like Veterans.
Yeah.
Right, where the football team played there, the old football Cardinals played there, and getting tackled on that thing, I'm sure felt like getting tackled on concrete. That's how that felt. It was probably pretty brutal.
Look at that.
Look at how thin that is.
Yeah.
And they would just, I've never seen that. That's really fascinating. But I do remember the ball would skip off there. In high school, I made a friend. He was a friend, and it sounds like I'm using him, but I wasn't. But his dad worked for the Cardinals.
Okay.
In marketing and comm. And so periodically we would get to sit behind home plate, about 3 rows behind home plate. He'd say, "Hey, you want to go tonight?" Yes. And we'd go and just go down and watch the game. And when this happened during the summer, this would have been like summer of 90, 91, 92, around there. And it would hit, St. Louis summers are something else. And, they'd be 102. And St. Louis is situated right between the Missouri and the Mississippi.
Okay.
So you have the heat or the humidity as well. And we would sit, and we were, just a few rows off the turf. And your face would be bright red by the end of that game, especially for those day games, because it'd be 110, 112 on the turf. And guys like Joe West and Eric Gregg and those old umps, they'd have ice packs over their necks and on their heads just to make it through a game. And brutal. Yeah.
I mean, I have such lasting memories of watching games at Busch, like Sunday at 10 o'clock, and it would be like 10 or 11 because the 2-hour difference from San Francisco. Yeah. And it would always show the big thermometer on the field, and it would be like even more than 110. It would be like 120, 125. And I'm thinking from like Mediterranean climate, I got freaked out. I'm like, I hope they're okay.
Well, yeah, and they do a close up and you can see like the steam.
Yeah, so good.
It was brutal.
So they're in this great summertime pennant race with the Mets. At one point, they're both tied at 83 and 47. Both teams. Look at those records, right? What's that? 26 over. Yeah. Both teams. The down the stretch, Gooden and John Tudor square off, and it's actually one of Gooden's losses. I think the score is a 3. So no, they both know what it is. They both go 9 scoreless. Do you remember this game?
Oh yes, I remember.
So flesh it out. I remember it not as well as you.
It goes. My memory serves. They both go 9 scoreless.
Yeah.
One of them goes. I thought Gooden goes into the 10th.
No, Tudor does.
Tudor goes into the 10th.
Yeah.
Right? And Mets win. Is that
right? No. The Cardinals win.
Yeah, you probably looked it up. I don't remember. I remember this game. I just remember the 0-0, and then there's the showdown. Everybody was the front page of the Post-Dispatch. Gooden versus Tudor. Yeah. Right, and it did not disappoint. And if you were there for a pitching duel, that was it.
So fun.
Thank you for reminding me. I always thought New York won that game. I didn't realize St. Louis won that game.
Oh yeah. So St. Louis pulls ahead. It comes like in the last weekend, and they end up they do what they need to do. The Mets, don't. They win the division by 3. 3. Right, they win the division by 3. They head on, and they were predicted for last. They finished first. They win 101 games. Right, that's an amazing season. 101 game winner. They go in. They play the NL West winning Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yes, and it's also worth mentioning at this point, they have not lost a game that's at all, in which they were leading in the 9th inning. Oh. At that point, it was like 89 or 88 or 87 and
wow,
in which they had a lead in the 9th inning, and that's with their rookie closer, Todd Worrell.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Ken Daly would chip in as well. He was pretty good. Yeah.
So they go to the postseason.
Yes.
The Well, you want to tell a story about the Dodgers LCS?
We can't tell the story without talking about Tom Niedenfuer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Tom Niedenfuer, by the way, married. Do you know who he was married to? Do you remember
No.
Judy and Audrey Landers, the sisters?
Yeah, of course.
He was married to one of those sisters.
That's so random. How do you know? You'd be a great guest to have on the show.
Yeah, right. It's just, I think it was Judy. I think it was Judy Landers who was, but I could be wrong. It's one of the Landers sisters. But they go in and they're playing the Dodgers, and the series is remembered for three things: 2 epic home runs, both of them off Niedenfuer.
Yep.
And then the other one is a mechanical tarp, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's game 4. I want to say it's game 4 or game 2. I can't remember.
It's game 4. It's game 4. It's rainy, drizzly.
It's raining, and there are 2 different versions of the story. There's Vince Coleman's version, and there's Ozzie Smith's version of what happened.
All right.
So Vince Coleman, the fastest person in baseball, not the best base runner. That's Ricky, right? And then Tim Raines, but he's just pure speed, the fastest guy. They start rolling out this mechanical tarp over Busch. And this thing is not moving fast.
No.
Right? Somehow, the fastest man in baseball gets his leg caught in this mechanical tarp. Now, first we'll tell the Vince Coleman version of it. The Vince Coleman version of it, which I believe, because it's Vince Coleman who had happened to, right?
Yeah.
He feels something on his leg, as he described it. He feels something on his leg. You can find an interview with this on YouTube. He's talking about it years later. He's retired, but he feels it, and it starts almost like a boa constrictor. His foot gets caught.
Yeah.
And it starts creeping up his leg. Yeah. And it's like a vice.
Yeah.
He is freaking out. He says, right? He says, but he can't feel it because the adrenaline is pumping. He's like, oh my God. He can't get it out. And it's crushing his foot, his ankle, and his leg. This tarp that's just rolling up his leg. I'm laughing now because it's so ridiculous. and it's, somebody starts screaming, stop, because he's not on the ground now. And it's like at some point, it's going to get his torso. Like, what is going to happen here, right? And they stop it. And then they slowly undo it. And long story, he's hurt, of course.
Yeah.
And at the time, they don't know how bad it is. It turns out it's a fracture.
It's a chip.
It's a chip. But he thought he might make it back for the World Series. He did try it in the exercise. He just can't do it. The chip, but he's hurt. He can't move. And we're watching the news, the 6:00 news, and usually it goes news, weather, sports. But this was the lead story of the day. Yeah. Right. It goes right to Mike Busch on KSDK, Channel 5, the NBC affiliate. And he's on the field and he's talking about, like, behind me, and it's about the tarp, about what happened. You would have thought JFK got shot. Right. But it's game 4 of the playoffs. So that's one version of it. The other version of that Ozzie tells is that it was wet on the field. This isn't Ozzie's book. Okay. He's describing that it was wet on the field and that Vince turned to go somewhere and slipped and then got it caught on there. But Vince says no, it came up from behind and started doing it. So who knows? Ozzie likes to tell a good story.
It was beyond belief. This guy who is lightning gets run over by a slow-moving tarp.
Right? And it made me think. It made me think, and I mentioned this to you here, but I'll say it here again. It made me think of that scene from the first Austin Powers movie, right, where he is in a Zamboni, one of Dr. Evil's cronies. This is going on for a minute, and it's creeping, and he's like, "Get out of the way! Get out of the way!" And the guy's going, "No!" as it comes at him like this. And as I'm sitting in the theater, and this is now years later, I'm watching Zamboni crawl toward. I'm thinking, this is Vince Coleman. This is what happened to Vince Coleman. How does he get hit? And that's one reason, I think, because I'm still juvenile, that I don't like him a whole lot, is because I feel like he ruined part of the '85 Cardinals by getting run over by a tarp, even though it was very scary for him, terrifying for him, right? I mean, it chipped his bone. You have this, robot rolling up on his legs that he can't get off. And I'm sure he was terrified. And he says he didn't feel the pain until it was completely off of him, because at the point that it was on him, it was adrenaline, like, get this off. He was trying to do what he was struggling. Like trying to get your foot out of a python, right?
Yeah. Well, he probably felt general pain of the crushing.
Right.
Yeah.
He says he didn't feel the pain, and then once
Felt
the thing
nothing.
was off, and once the thing was completely off him, and he realized he was not going to be crushed.
Yeah.
He felt it. Like he felt pain up and down his leg and his ankle and his foot. At that point.
Oh my god! I can't believe we're going. This is like Zapruder
That's what
dive into the. What color was the tarp? Red.
Evil. It's the color of evil. And while we're talking about Ozzie's version of the story,
yeah. What do you got?
This is Ozzie's '94 finest, not the refractor. It's just the plane.
That's cool. I remember that Ozzie. That's when they were wearing the blue hats.
The blue hats.
Blue helmets.
This one's got some hulking going on.
Yeah.
A little bit, even though it's not the refractor.
That's cool though.
Yeah, this one. So that's Ozzie.
That's right? Ozzie. So they go 80. What do you got? You got a card?
No. I was just
okay. So they go. They are down 3-2.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're down. Yeah. No, it's 2-2 into game 5.
Yes. Right. And
back in LA.
Back in LA. You set the table. You're telling me.
You go.
Right. And oh god, and I'm blanking. Jack Clark was game 4. Ozzie was game 5.
Jack Clark was game 6.
Game 6. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's right. So we're talking to the Ozzie home run, right?
Yeah.
So Jack Buck's coming, or Jack Buck's got on the call,
Yep.
right? And Ozzie is batting from the left side.
Mm-hmm.
And this time, Ozzie has never hit a home run from the left side of the plate, ever. And at that time, probably like 13 from the right side. He was not a strong human being. He was known for his fielding. Tom Niedenfuer on the mound, right? And it comes. He's an effective reliever all year for the Dodgers.
Very much a good closer. Yeah,
closer, right? Ozzie pulls it, right? Ozzie just turns on this ball, jacks it, right? Just jacks it, and he's going around. He's got the fist up in the air, and that's when Jack Buck makes the legendary call: "Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The Cards win!" Blah blah, on a home run by the Wizard.
Yeah.
Right. And he's going around. I miss Jack Buck. I miss Jack Buck so much.
He was amazing. He was one of those guys that everyone always respected. 11 World Series he called. He actually called 18 Super Bowls as well.
He did. And now he and his son's the great connection. Thank you. I always forget what year it went from a 5-game series to a 7-game series.
That one.
That was the one. Okay.
I
kept thinking game 4.
Yeah. No, that was the first year they went 7 games.
Yeah.
There's certain ballparks that I'm very much into the ambiance. And a little known fact, like I'm also very into the background on cards. I like to try to figure out what stadium. For some reason in the 70s, the preponderance of Topps photos were taken at Candlestick. Tons, like it's a huge percentage of the NL and a lot of AL at the Coliseum. So I love certain ambiance. I love the late afternoon sunlight in Southern California. So I love it at the Rose Bowl when there's like a Super Bowl, or I love that diffused going down above the rim of the stadium. And Dodger Stadium in the late afternoon is for sure. The shadows get longer. I hate the Dodgers with the hatred of 1,000 angry, fiery suns because I'm a Giants fan. I have no choice. But there's something about Chavez Ravine and Dodger Stadium, the little like arcs out there in the outfield, the sun baffles, the shadows, the blue. It's a cool spot. So I remember the atmosphere of those games very vividly.
Yeah, I do too. I can still picture it in my mind. And I know what you're saying. Being a Cardinals fan, I hate the Cubs, right?
You have to.
I love baseball cards that take place in Wrigley because that brick wall, the brick outfield wall, and when they really play with the depth of field, and you can see the ivy depending what time of the year they've taken it. And it's a great place for a baseball card.
Yeah, I think a lot of 89 Upper Deck is actually at Wrigley. A good number.
And 84 Donruss too.
Yes, I feel like I love 84 Donruss. I feel like if I was gonna splurge, like if my wife wouldn't divorce me for spending a tax return kind of move, I would love to buy a box of 84 Donruss and just slowly open it, like with a buddy, do it together. And that'd be so fun. Yeah. Last year at National, my buddy Adam Kay and West Coast Jewish Chris, we brought a few boxes to open. I brought 86 Fleer. Adam brought 85 Fleer and 84 Topps. It was just super fun. Like just a little bit better than abject junk and sweet spot collecting years. So it's game 6 now.
It was Tom Niedenfuer.
Tom Niedenfuer on the hill again.
On the hill again. The poor guy. He does have the Lander sister to go home to, so he's doing okay, right? But up comes the former Giant,
the Ripper.
Yep, Jack Clark, right?
Yeah.
And I've never been able to tell. I think it's Daryl Porter who's on deck. That's Daryl Porter's stance. That's how
Porter
he batted.
Porter split. He and Tom Niedenfuer were a platoon.
Yep.
And I bet you that's him.
I think that's him in the background. That's just, I remember his swing was just so up here. So there's Jack. This is Jack's 85 tops. This is his trade. Another traded Tiffany.
Nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So this card there, and he gets into one. Right. I joked about Ozzie. Ozzie poked it over the wall. Right. With all his force, and Jack just destroyed. He went full Roy Hobbs on that ball.
Yeah.
Right.
And lines it out, jacks it.
Right. And then Tom Niedenfuer, his head drops. Right. Yeah. He's done it again. He kind of turns. He doesn't have to look. He knows it's going out. And the cards again seem like this team of destiny. And at this time you're thinking, we wish that Vince was here, but clearly this team has something special going. You've got Ozzie hitting home runs from the left side of the plate. You've got the move for Jack Clark working out. You've got, this is Jeff Pendleton, right? But here's, every little rookie's like,
Jeff Pendleton.
Jeff Pendleton.
Look how young he is right there.
Let's say cherry on the back, right? Future Atlanta Brave NL MVP.
Yep.
Terry Pendleton there, right?
Yeah, I don't think he deserved it that year, quite honestly.
No.
But he wanted that. Bonds would have had 2 4 years in a row stretches. Yeah. Bonds is an 8 WAR, wins a Gold Glove. He's an 8 WAR, right? Steals 43 bags. It's a super tight race. It's 1991. Yeah, 1991. Was it 91?
Yeah, it was 91.
Yep, 91. And like I said, the only thing Pendleton is better at in categories is batting average. And Bonds is 292, but beats him in everything. Like I said, an 8 WAR. But the Braves go from worst to first. It's a better story.
And sports journalists, they love Terry Pendleton. He was a nice
guy. Yeah. Not Bonds.
Not Bonds, right?
Not Bonds.
One last card before we move on to the World Series. Because I want to give him his love. It's Tommy Herr. He's the middle hero.
Oh, thank you.
Stars. Yeah.
1980 Future Stars.
1980 Future Star. Little love. Dan O'Brien. George Fraser had a little bit of a career.
Yeah, with the Yankees. Yeah.
Yeah, he went on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tommy Herr.
For sure. 110 ribbies. Stole bases. He's all over the highlight film because he's always like the guy slapping the ball at that crazy bouncing turf. Ozzie scoring, whatever.
He was the number 2 or the number 3 hitter, depending on the game. And number 2, he was lethal at number 2. And Vince was always on second, which is why he was driving in so many runs there, right? And then Ozzie would hit 8th because he was not a very good hitter at that.
That's point. Right. He would hit low.
And so he would be on base. The pitcher would get out. Vince would get on base, and all these guys were on base ahead of Tommy, and Herr would just drive them in.
So I have a ton of just ton of Jack Clark cards, randoms.
Yeah.
I just want to show you, like this is another example of sports Rashomon. When I had Seth on, we did the New York Giants and Jim Burt obliterating Joe Montana, like different perspective on the same event. You guys, you were completed, right? When he gave you a stick. Someone who could hit with some power. That's all you really needed with that team. So, like, this is your Jack Clark, right? The 1985 Fleer, the update. But this is
forearms, man.
I know, right? This is my Jack Clark,
right?
He was the best player when they had no stars.
Those eyebrows.
Huge eyebrows, a 10-cent head, but could hit and hit for power. Was miserable, was very outspoken. He said that you should tear the whole thing down in reference to Candlestick Park. Was like, you knew he wasn't going to last. And he was like our best player. And I was a kid. And he became my favorite player.
Yeah.
I remember being super sad when he expressed how delighted he was to go. I'm like, oh man, but I never hated on him. I was super stoked when he hit that home run. The Giants get nothing for Jack Clark. They probably said malcontent. He probably thought discontent, right? They get nothing. Well, they get one guy, but it seems like a bunch of bags of baseballs otherwise. I'm going to run it down. They get this guy, Dave LaPointe, 1986.
Oh, I love Dave LaPointe.
Yeah, he was good with you. Good. He was 7-17 his 1 year as a Giant. I'm gonna show you a 1985 postcard set. The trade happens in February, just before spring training. This is the team set postcard set from '85. Plays 1 year, then goes to Detroit, and his worst years with the Giants. That's one guy they get for him. They get a guy named Gary Rajic or something like that. He plays 100 games in the majors, and he's out of baseball. Like nothing. Another nothing for the Giants. They get this guy, David Green.
Oh, David. There was a card from '85 Fleer. It's I think it's '85 Fleer. It says Vince, Ozzie, Willie, and David Green. Right, and it's like Cardinal superstar future card or whatever it is, and then David Green's gone.
Oh my God! He also plays 1 year for the Giants. Then he gets in trouble in '86. He like has a vehicular manslaughter in, where's he from? Somewhere in South America. It doesn't matter for this story. So he misses the season. Giants get rid of him. He ends up bouncing around. I think he also goes to Detroit for a little while. Oh, you know what? Actually, he plays professional. He's from Nicaragua. And he goes and plays pro ball there. And then he goes to Japan and comes back to major. Long story short, they get nothing for Jack Clark here. So 0 for 3. The one guy they get is of any repute is Jose Uribe.
Oh, good play. Who was not? Yeah. Was he Uribe at the time?
No. So you're so good, Dave. No. So they trade for him, and his name is Uribe Gonzalez. Yeah, he's Uribe Gonzalez, and then for a minute he becomes Jose Uribe Gonzalez, and then a minute later he becomes Jose Uribe. It has to do with his mother's name and his father's name. He wanted to take both their names, but he was good. He was like 85 to 93. He's their shortstop. He's their shortstop in '87, '89. So they're good teams.
Definitely had a Royce Clayton vibe to him. Solid, good player.
Royce Clayton took his job.
Royce Clayton also took Ozzie's job.
That's true. That's true. I always wanted him to be a little bit better. Like he was a cool name, kind of a cool guy, but not quite there. So we go on to the World Series. It's the I-70. I have no idea what I-70 is.
Interstate 70. Okay. It's Interstate 70. It's fine. You know, it's a typical interstate, and between us and Kansas City.
How far apart?
Three, between 2.5 and 3.5 hours, kind of depending on if you stop or not. Straight shot.
Yeah. Close enough. Okay. Close enough. What's your feeling going into your team's in the World Series? How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I'm also excited at this point because I'm going to 6th grade camp, right? So we're going off to 6th grade camp, and it's something they do every year for my Craig Elementary School. Mm-hmm. You go for a week. You get to be the big kids. You know, it's the last year of elementary school, and you're doing sports and crafts and trust exercises and screwing around, kind of a thing. And so that's really where my head was at that point. I was excited for the Cardinals. I thought they were going to win. Maybe that was just me being 11 years old, and you never think your team was going to lose. But I felt pretty good about it. I liked George Brett. How do you not?
Yeah, he
was amazing. I liked him as I always thought of him as the guy who went nuts with the pine tar and Billy Martin and Goose Gossage and all of that. And in fact, I got a ball glove earlier that year, and you know how the old baseball gloves had a signature on them, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
And my friend already had an Ozzie, and another friend of mine had a Willie, and of course you can't get the same one, right?
No.
So I got a Brett Saberhagen glove for some reason because he was pitching great. He was this phenom, right? He was,
absolutely.
Right, saber saw, right? And so he was buzzing him down, and they felt harmless. They felt absolutely like this harmless team. You know, Dick Hauser, great manager, really good manager. Steve Balboni, Buddy Biancalana, George Oda, Willie Wilson. And who didn't like Willie Wilson?
That guy could fly. He could have been a Cardinal the way he ran.
He could have been, right?
Yeah.
And so I was feeling pretty good. And at this time, you know, the heat is on.
Yeah.
Right? Right. The heat is on. It's, you know, Beverly Hills Cop. That is the song. The heat is on.
It's their team motto.
It's their team motto. And they're playing it. I don't know if they had the copyright to use it, but they were using it behind everything. You're feeling great. You're feeling cocky.
Testing fate.
You still wish they had Vince. At that point. But you had a good top two starters in Tudor and Andujar. You had Worrell. You had that offense. I get to 6th grade camp. It's incredible, right? Talking to girls for the first time. Parents aren't there. They're mailing me clips, right? You know, of one of the games of the World Series from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and they lost the game that I got the clip from, so that's okay. You're still feeling pretty good. I got laryngitis at camp. It was the first time I ever had it, and it wasn't like this. It was gone. Like my voice was gone.
Okay.
So those are my memories of it. Then we, 6th grade camp is over.
Yeah.
We go home, and I get to watch Game 6 with my family and our neighbors. And throughout the series, the Cardinals they're playing fine. They're probably throwing Tudor a little bit too much, right?
Yeah.
Andujar is a little bit erratic.
Yeah.
Shall we say?
Yeah.
Which you could say about most of his life. He's a bit erratic. Jack Clark gets a little hurt, right? He's not quite right himself, which is sort of the story of Jack Clark with the Cardinals, where it was injuries, right?
Yeah.
And things aren't quite going the way they should, but they're still up 3-2. And
actually, they're up 2-0 and 3-1.
2-0 and 3-1.
But 3-2 and you get back.
3-2 when I get back, right?
Okay.
And it was weird. We would listen to the games on the radio at 6th grade camp, but you don't want to sit there for 2.5, 3 hours listening to the game. So we just go out and, play tag or whatever heck we were playing, right?
Yeah.
Ghost in the Graveyard or something like that. And we're doing that, but we're feeling pretty good. And it never entered our mind when they were up 3-2 that we weren't going to win one of the last 2 games. Like it just seemed too aligned, right? Alas, right?
I hope there's some catharsis in talking about this tonight.
Oh yeah, it's I have not let go of it, but now it's just part of St. Louis baseball history, right?
Yeah.
It's actually weirdly good memories. It's kind of fun, and my friends and I will talk about it a little bit. My brother and I will talk about it somewhat. So yeah, Clark's battling injuries. Vince isn't there. Andujar's up and down. Tudor's being run into the ground, but he's holding up. He's fine, right? Worrell's pitching great, and so you just feel good. And then they are up. They are now up in the 9th inning.
Yep.
They're up in the 9th inning of Game 6.